There's a kind of poverty that never shows up in your wallet, but it lives in your choices. It lives in how you speak, what you believe, and what you avoid. You can have a nice suit, a car, a paycheck, but still be poor, because poverty starts in the mind. Until you clean the dust off your thinking, don't expect the windows of your finances to shine. You see, excuses are the language of poverty. And wealth doesn't respond to excuses, it responds to responsibility. Let me tell you something. I've learned, after working with thousands of people over the years, something that will shape your entire financial future. What you believe about money becomes the invisible boundary around your income, your savings, and your opportunities. Until you change that internal framework, the external numbers won't change for long. I remember years ago, I was broken-out, just financially, but mentally. I used to believe money was something only a few lucky people had, or that it required stepping on others to get it. I thought wealth was for them, not me. And so even when I started making a little more, I'd find a way to lose it. I'd sabotage it. I'd spend it as fast as it came in because deep down I didn't believe I deserved to keep it. My beliefs were still poor. And poor thinking creates poor financieve time. Now here's the turning point. When I began to study successful people, not just what they did, but how they thought, I noticed something different. They didn't view money as evil or dirty. They didn't worship it either. They respected it. They saw it as a tool, like a hammer, something you can build with or destroy with. The difference wasn't in how hard they worked, it was how they thought. Their thoughts were rooted in abundance, responsibility, and growth, and their results reflected it. You've got to understand this. Your beliefs about money control how you act with money. If you think money's dangerous, you'll avoid it. If you think money makes people greedy, you'll feel guilty for earning more. If you think it's never enough, you'll hoard it in fear. But if you begin to think of money as a servant, something that works for you, flows through you, and helps you serve others, you'll treat it with the honor and strategy it deserves. That mindset creates opportunity. This is why I always tell people, don't just track your net worth, track your thoughts. What do you tell yourself when you get paid? When you lose money? When you hear someone talk about investing? Those thoughts are your financial operating system, and if you never update the system, don't expect new results. We often blame circumstances for our financial condition, but more often than not, it's our internal conversation that needs changing. Start listening. Are you telling yourself, I'll never get ahead, or I'm not good with money? Catch those phrases. They sound harmless, but they're lethal. Replace them with intentional, empowering language. Try this instead. I am learning how to manage money wisely. Or, every dollar I earn is a seed for my future. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about reprogramming your mind to serve your goals, not sabotage them. I had a mentor who told me, you can't plant corn and expect wheat. Well, you can't plant thoughts of poverty and expect wealth. The seeds you sow in your mind determine the fruit in your finances. So if you want to change the numbers in your bank account, start by changing the numbers in your thinking. Upgrade the thoughts, and the results will follow. The goal isn't just to make more money, it's to become the kind of person who naturally creates and sustains wealth. Because once your mind expands to that level of thinking, your income has no choice but to follow. Let me share something that will either offend your excuses or ignite your future. And I hope it does both. Blame is the language of poverty. It may feel good in the moment, but it will bankrupt your future. The moment you point your finger at someone else for why you're not where you want to be, your boss, the government, your parents, the economy, that's the moment you hand over your power. And I don't mean temporary power, I mean the very engine that could have changed your life. You gave it away to something outside of you. Now what happens? You wait. You wait for the world to fix itself before you act. That's poverty thinking. That's the mindset that keeps you small. You've probably heard this before, but let me say it again with deeper intent. Wealthy people think differently. Where poor thinkers say, they won't give me a raise. Wealthy thinkers say, How can I make myself so valuable they can't afford not to pay me more? Or I go find somewhere that will? Where poor thinkers say, nobody taught me how to manage money. Wealthy thinkers say, let me find a book, a mentor, or a podcast because I am responsible for learning now. That's ownership. That's power. And that shift right there, that shift from blame to responsibility is one of the great dividing lines between the broke and the wealthy, between the stuck and the free. I had a season in my life where nothing seemed to work. I blamed everything. I blamed the economy, my lack of education, my upbringing. And one day, a mentor looked me dead in the eyes and said, if it's going to change, you have to change. I didn't like it. It hurt my pride. But I'm grateful for it every day. Because that's the day I stopped waiting and started building. That's the day I traded blame for responsibility. And that's the day my financial life finally started to shift. You see, responsibility doesn't mean everything that happened to you is your fault. No, life throws things at us we didn't ask for. But responsibility means it's your job to respond well. It's your job to shape what comes next. That's where real wealth starts, not with money, but with a mindset that says, I will not stay where I am. I will not wait to be rescued. I am responsible for the next chapter. And if you want the truth, excuses are expensive. They cost you time, momentum, creativity, and opportunity. Every time you say, I can't, when what you really mean is, I won't, you rob yourself of a possible solution. I'm not saying the road is easy, but I am saying it's possible. And responsibility is the ticket in. Blame won't get you far. But responsibility, it'll carry you all the way to freedom. Let me challenge you. The next time something goes wrong, before you point a finger, pause and ask, what part did I play? What can I do differently next time? That moment of self-honesty is the doorway to growth. And let me tell you, the person who takes responsibility becomes the one in control. And when you're in control, you can do something about it. Because responsibility is not a burden, it's a privilege. It's the invitation to build a future no one else can take from you. Let me give you a concept that changed everything for me. The poor major in minor things and the rich major in results. Now, I'm not talking about money alone. I'm talking about mindset, focus, and use of time. You can spot the direction of someone's life by simply watching how they spend their day. Are they busy or are they productive? Do they talk about people or do they talk about ideas? Do they chase drama or do they chase discipline? You see, a poor thinker fills the day with activity that leads nowhere. Constant scrolling, gossip at lunch, arguing about politics they can't influence, comparing lifestyles on social media. Now, is there anything inherently wrong with these things? Maybe not, but they're distractions dressed as entertainment. They're traps that give you the illusion of motion without direction. You burn energy, but you don't move forward. It's like being on a treadmill wondering why you never left the room. Now, the wealthy, the truly successful, do it differently. They know how to major in the majors. They care about outcomes. They look at their habits and ask, is this producing a result or just keeping me busy? They track progress. They focus on acquiring skills. They build systems. They set goals with deadlines. They read books, not to impress anyone, but to sharpen their thinking. And they understand that how they spend an hour is how they shape a destiny. There was a time when I found myself constantly busy running here, talking there, reacting to everything around me, but with nothing to show for it. My calendar was full, but my life was empty. And it wasn't until I sat down, looked myself in the mirror and asked, what are you really getting done? That I realized I had been majoring in minor things. I was doing a lot, but achieving very little. So I made a decision. I would only put energy into what gave me a return mentally, financially, emotionally, and that shift changed my trajectory forever. Here's the secret. Not all effort is equal. Not all action leads to advancement. You have to become a steward of your energy and your minutes. Because if you don't master your minutes, you'll lose your months. And if you lose your months, you'll waste your years. And that's how people wake up at 50 wondering why they're still stuck in the same financial place they were at 30. I once heard someone say, "Don't confuse movement with progress." That line stuck with me because I'd seen too many people running hard but going nowhere. You've got to learn to separate the urgent from the important. Not everything that demands your attention deserves your energy. Be ruthless with distractions. Be loyal to your mission. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Are you majoring in results or in distractions? Are you building something or just staying busy to avoid the discomfort of growth? Because if you want to get rich, not just in money, but in life, you have to focus on what truly matters. Train your focus. Track your results. And never mistake motion for momentum. That's how you shift from poor thinking to a rich life. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood ideas in the entire journey toward wealth: risk. Now, poor thinking fears risk, not because the risk is always big, but because the thinking is small. And when your thinking is small, every risk feels like a threat. But rich thinking wealthy thinking sees risk through a different lens. The wealthy don't run from risk. They study it. They dissect it. They learn from it. And then, when the numbers make sense and the instinct is clear, they act. That's the difference. One mindset runs, the other advances. Now, I've met folks who say, "I'm just being cautious," when in truth, they're being paralyzed by fear. Caution is wise. Paralysis is expensive. There's a big difference between being calculated and being cowardly. Poor thinking says, "What if it goes wrong?" Rich thinking says, "What if it goes right? And how do I make it more likely to?" And the truth is, if you're waiting for a life without risk, you'll wait forever. And while you wait, someone else will be learning, growing, and earning. I remember the first investment opportunity I ever passed on out of fear. It wasn't a big investment, but it was new. It was unfamiliar. And instead of studying it, instead of asking questions, I retreated. I let fear dress itself up as wisdom. And wouldn't you know it, 3 years later, that little opportunity had tripled in value. And what did I get? A lesson, a very important lesson. The cost of inaction is often far greater than the cost of action, especially when you've done your homework. Wealthy people don't jump blindly into risk. They prepare for it. They study trends, they ask experts, they crunch numbers. But after the research, after the due diligence, there comes a moment where you either move or you miss. And that's where courage steps in. Because there is no success without some discomfort. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. If you're always safe, you're never building anything that lasts. The wealthy have simply trained their minds to tolerate calculated uncertainty. They've strengthened their decision-making muscles. And more than anything, they've learned to trust themselves under pressure. Here's something that might surprise you. The real reward is often hidden inside the risk. The new business idea, the career move, the investment property, it all feels uncomfortable at first. But so does every new level of growth. When you fear risk, what you're really fearing is responsibility. Because risk says this outcome is on me. But when you embrace that, when you accept that ownership, you begin to operate in a new realm. That's where wealth is born. Some people wait for all the lights to turn green before they ever leave the driveway. They say, once the economy settles down, once I have more experience, once I feel ready. But let me tell you, if you're waiting for perfect timing, you're already late. The path to wealth is built on imperfect action fueled by educated risk. You gather the facts, you strengthen your character, and then you step forward with boldness. I've seen too many brilliant people shrink their dreams because they were too afraid of what might go wrong. And I've seen people with half the skill and twice the courage go out and create empires. Not because they were lucky, but because they weren't afraid to get a little uncomfortable. They weren't afraid to invest in something bigger than themselves. So if you're serious about building wealth, stop asking, is it risky? And start asking, have I studied it enough to move forward? That's where the transformation begins. Because the poor avoid risk and stay broke. The rich study it, lean into it, and grow. And if you want to shift your financial life, it starts with shifting your relationship with risk. Don't run from it. Learn from it. Move through it, and let it shape you into someone ready for wealth. Let me share with you one of the most life-changing truths I ever discovered. If you don't change your thinking, you will keep reliving the same struggles, just with different faces, different dates, and different dollar amounts. That's the reality for so many people. They change jobs but not habits. They switch careers but not attitudes. They chase more income, but they never upgrade their outlook. And eventually they find themselves right back where they started, broke, burned out, and bitter. Because the truth is, wealth is not about the money in your hand, it's about the thinking in your head. You see, I've met people who won the lottery and lost it all in less than 5 years. Why? Because they got the money, but they didn't get the mindset. They had a rich bank account and a poor philosophy. And when that happens, money just passes through your life like water through open hands. No structure, no systems, no wisdom. So the secret isn't to chase money, it's to shape your mind. Because if you build the right thoughts, the money will follow. But if you don't, it doesn't matter how many pay raises you get, you'll spend faster than you earn and wonder why it's never enough. Let me ask you something. How do you think about money? Is it a tool or a tyrant? Is it a source of stress or a source of service? Because how you think about it determines how you manage it. If you believe money is scarce, you'll hoard it or fear losing it. If you believe money is bad, you'll sabotage your own efforts to earn it. But if you believe money is a reward for value, then your focus shifts not just to having more, but to becoming more. That's where wealth truly starts to grow. Now, what I've learned is that poor thinking is often inherited. You pick it up from parents, teachers, or the people around you. Maybe you heard things like, "We can't afford that," or "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Rich people are greedy," and you absorbed it. Not consciously, but deeply. And those beliefs started running your financial life in the background. But here's the good news. Just because you inherited a mindset doesn't mean you have to keep it. You can interrupt that cycle. You can build a new philosophy, but you've got to be intentional. One of the best exercises I ever did was to take out a notebook and write down every belief I had about money. And then next to each one, I asked, is this helping me or hurting me? Is this truth or tradition? Is this wisdom or just worry I learned from someone else? And I started replacing the old beliefs with better ones. I went from "I can't afford it" to "How can I create the value to earn it?" That one shift opened doors in my mind I never knew existed. Because the questions you ask shape the answers you get, and the answers you get shape the future you live. I always tell people, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And what you are is the sum of your thinking. So, if you want to change your financial life, you've got to change the way you think about money, value, time, effort, and opportunity. You've got to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator. Stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. Stop thinking in days and start thinking in decades. That's how long-term wealth is built, through long-term thinking backed by daily disciplines. You can't just patch up the surface of your financial life and expect lasting change. You have to go deep. You have to uproot the beliefs that keep you broke. You have to plant new seeds of vision, strategy, and responsibility, and then water them every day with learning, action, and accountability. That's the real formula, not a shortcut, not a lottery ticket. Just a new mind, making new choices, creating a new life. So if you're tired of repeating the same financial struggles year after year, don't just look at your budget, look at your beliefs. Because when you change your thinking, you don't just earn more, you live better, lead better, and leave more behind. And that, my friend, is the real wealth. When it comes to building lasting wealth, relying on a single paycheck is one of the most limiting mistakes a person can make. You see, life is unpredictable. Jobs can disappear overnight, markets can shift, and circumstances beyond your control can change in an instant. If all your eggs are in one basket, if your entire financial future depends on just one source of income, you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. True financial security, and ultimately wealth, comes from having multiple streams of income flowing simultaneously. This isn't just about earning more money, it's about building resilience, freedom, and opportunity. I remember early in my career, I was working a regular job, and though the paycheck was steady, I always felt that restless urge to do more. I knew that to create real financial freedom, I needed to develop additional skills and income streams beyond my regular work. So, I began to learn about freelancing opportunities and side hustles. I took on small consulting gigs, offering what I knew to those who needed it. I built products, a few little things that people found useful, and eventually I began investing in things that generated passive income. This approach didn't just add dollars to my bank account. It changed my entire relationship with money. It gave me choices. It gave me power. Here's the core idea. The wealthy don't put their entire livelihood in one place. They diversify not only their investments, but their income sources. It's a strategy that protects you from the inevitable storms that come in life and positions you to accelerate your wealth faster than a single paycheck ever could. Each new stream is like another leg on a stool. One leg might wobble, but the stool stands firm with 3 or 4 strong legs. You might be wondering how to begin building multiple income streams. First, you have to cultivate skills that are marketable beyond your current job. Are you good at writing, teaching, designing, coding, or managing? There's someone, somewhere, who will pay you for those skills. Don't wait for a perfect moment or a fancy title. Start freelancing in small ways today. Build a reputation, gather testimonials, and grow your side income steadily. Next, think about creating products or services. This could be anything from writing an ebook, creating an online course, starting a YouTube channel, or selling handmade goods. These streams might take time to develop, but once established, they can generate income even when you're not actively working. That's the power of leverage the ability to make money while you sleep. Investing is another critical stream. While investing requires knowledge and patience, it's one of the most effective ways to multiply your income. Whether you invest in stocks, real estate, or a business, each dollar you put to work can create earnings that grow over time. But remember, investing wisely means educating yourself and managing risk carefully. One important mindset shift is this. You must think like a creator, not just a consumer. Don't just spend your money, use it to build more income sources. Don't just work for money, create systems that work for you. When you adopt this mentality, you'll naturally start spotting opportunities others overlook. Lastly, guard your time fiercely. Multiple income streams require time and effort, especially in the beginning. But with discipline and focus, you can stack these streams one by one. The journey might not be easy, but it's worth every moment, because each new stream you build is another step closer to financial independence. So, don't settle for the paycheck-to-paycheck life. Develop your skills, start small, invest wisely, and build your streams. When you do, you'll not only protect your future, you'll accelerate your journey toward true wealth. When people hear about cutting spending, they often think it means sacrifice and suffering, that living well requires giving up what brings them joy, but that's a false story. True wealth isn't about deprivation, it's about direction. It's about making your money work smarter, not harder. And that means spending with purpose rather than impulse. When you learn how to cut spending without cutting your quality of life, you create a powerful margin for saving, investing, and growing your wealth. I've seen it time and again with the people I've worked with, and I've lived it myself. Early on, I didn't understand how much small expenses were silently draining my resources. Subscriptions, daily coffee runs, dining out frequently, all these habits added up without me even realizing. But once I took the time to review every single expense with a critical eye, I discovered countless opportunities to trim without missing a beat. The first step is to review your subscriptions. So many of us subscribe to services we rarely use: magazines, streaming platforms, apps, memberships. I recommend writing them all down and asking yourself which ones truly add value to your life. Cancel those that don't. You'll be surprised how quickly those monthly savings pile up. This isn't about cutting out pleasure, it's about removing distractions that don't serve your bigger goals. Next, take a look at your food expenses. Eating out can be convenient, but it's often expensive and not as healthy. Learning to cook more meals at home not only saves money, but improves your well-being. Cooking is a skill worth investing time in because it gives you control over your nutrition and your budget. It doesn't mean giving up good food, it means bringing quality into your home in a way that respects your finances. When it comes to buying things, consider the difference between new and used. I'm not talking about settling for less, but choosing wisely. A well-maintained used car, furniture, or appliances can serve you just as well as brand new ones and cost a fraction of the price. This principle applies beyond physical goods. Sometimes it's about choosing investments that offer more value over flashier options. Spending with intention means asking yourself before each purchase, does this serve my goals? Does this bring genuine joy or utility? Impulse buying is the enemy of wealth because it's emotional and short-sighted. Intentional spending aligns your resources with your long-term vision. One powerful exercise is to track your spending for a month. Write down every dollar that leaves your wallet and categorize it. This awareness creates a natural filter. You start seeing where your money flows and how much could be redirected towards growth. It's not about guilt, but clarity. Cutting expenses also means building habits around contentment and creativity. You can find joy in simple pleasures, a walk, a good book, time with family that cost little but enrich life greatly. Wealth is not measured by how much you consume, but by how much freedom and fulfillment you create. I recall a time when I tightened my belt and redirected those savings into my education and small business ventures. It wasn't easy at first, but the discipline paid off exponentially. The freedom I gained was worth far more than any temporary comfort I gave up. Remember, managing your money wisely is a lifelong practice, not a punishment. When you cut spending thoughtfully and intentionally, you open the door to financial growth without sacrificing the life you love. This is the art of living richly with less. Choose direction over deprivation and watch your wealth and your life flourish. Mastering the skill of delayed gratification is one of the most powerful habits you can develop on the road to financial success. It's a simple concept on the surface, waiting before you spend. Resisting the urge for instant pleasure, but it runs deep into how your mind is wired and how your financial future is shaped. The ability to delay gratification is the foundation upon which compound wealth is built, and it's often the difference between those who accumulate riches and those who chase fleeting satisfaction. Early in my journey, I learned the hard way that impulse purchases rarely lead to happiness or financial progress. We live in a world designed to tempt us at every turn with buy now, pay later deals, flash sales, and constant advertising telling us we deserve this or that. But every time you give in to that immediate urge, you're trading your future freedom for a momentary high. It's like borrowing joy from tomorrow and paying the price with stress, debt, and lost opportunity. One practical way to build this skill is to introduce a simple rule. Wait 24 hours before making any large purchase. This pause forces your mind to move past the emotional impulse and gives you time to evaluate whether the purchase truly aligns with your goals. More often than not, you'll find that what felt urgent in the moment was actually unnecessary. This delay creates space for wisdom, and wisdom always pays dividends. But delayed gratification isn't just about spending less, it's about thinking bigger. It's about setting goals that require effort and time, whether it's saving for a down payment, building an emergency fund, or investing in your education. When you learn to enjoy the process of working towards something greater rather than seeking quick wins, you start to build momentum that compounds. That momentum creates a powerful financial snowball, growing steadily and reliably. I remember a time when I was tempted to buy a new car on credit, convinced it was a reward for hard work. Instead, I decided to wait, watch my spending, and put that money into improving my skills and business. That decision wasn't easy in the moment, but years later, it gave me far greater freedom and security than any car ever could. Delayed gratification also trains your mind to focus on long-term rewards instead of short-term satisfaction. It's a mental muscle that, once strengthened, helps you resist the siren calls of frivolous spending, instant gratification, and risky get-rich-quick schemes. Instead, you learn to value patience, persistence, and planning qualities that are the bedrock of wealth. Another practical tip is to celebrate milestones along the way rather than immediate results. Break your financial goals into manageable chunks and reward yourself for discipline, not indulgence. This creates a healthy balance where delayed gratification doesn't feel like deprivation, but becomes a source of pride and motivation. Ultimately, delayed gratification is about self-control and vision. It's about believing that your future self is worth more than any momentary pleasure today. Wealth isn't just money in the bank, it's the freedom to live on your terms. And that freedom is earned by waiting, working, and investing wisely. When you practice waiting and make it a habit, you unlock the secret to growing your money exponentially. Patience isn't passive, it's active discipline. And in the world of finance, discipline is the bridge that carries you from desire to reality. Failure is often seen as the enemy of success, especially in the realm of finance and wealth building. But in truth, failure is not your foible, is your most honest teacher. Every setback, every plan that falls short, every investment that doesn't pan out is a chance to learn something invaluable. The secret to turning failure into financial feedback is shifting your mindset from one of defeat to one of inquiry and growth. When a financial plan doesn't work, the first temptation is to quit, to chalk it up as a loss and move on without looking back. But quitting keeps you stuck in the same cycle, missing the opportunity to uncover what went wrong. Instead, you need to pause and ask yourself the right questions. What did I miss? Where was my thinking flawed? What information or perspective did I overlook? These questions are the doorway to insight and progress. Think of failure as tuition you pay for the education money can't buy. In my early days, I made numerous mistakes-poor investments, ill-timed decisions, and misguided ventures. Each time I felt the sting of loss deeply. But what separated those who fail once and stop from those who fail forward is the willingness to reflect honestly. I learned to keep a journal, recording my mistakes and the lessons that came with them. This practice sharpened my understanding and improved my decisions moving forward. When you extract lessons from failure, you turn pain into profit. For example, if an investment lost value, instead of blaming the market or feeling defeated, analyze the factors involved. Was it due diligence, timing, understanding of the product? Identifying these gaps helps you avoid repeating the same errors and positions you for smarter moves next time. It's also important to separate your identity from your failures. Failure is not a judgment on your worth. It is an event, a momentary result that you can learn from and change. Many people let failure define them, creating self-doubt and fear that paralyze their progress. But when you view failure as feedback, you remove emotion from the equation and replace it with curiosity and resolve. Failure also teaches resilience. Financial success is rarely a straight line. It's a journey with twists, turns, setbacks, and recoveries. Those who master the art of using failure as feedback build a mental toughness that money alone cannot buy. This resilience keeps you in the game longer, giving you a bigger chance to succeed over time. Remember, the greatest entrepreneurs, investors, and wealth creators often have a history filled with failures. They didn't quit. They adjusted. They listened to the feedback, refined their approach, and kept moving forward. You can do the same. So, the next time you face a financial setback, don't bury your head in the sand or blame outside forces. Sit with the discomfort, ask the tough questions, and write down the lessons. Then, take that newfound wisdom and apply it. Each failure is an opportunity to get richer, not just in money, but in knowledge, experience, and character. Failure is simply tuition. Pay it willingly, learn deeply, and keep moving forward. As we come to the close of this journey together, remember this: wealth is not reserved for the lucky or the gifted. It is earned by those who master their minds, who choose growth over comfort, and who turn every setback into a stepping stone. The secret lies not in chasing money, but in changing how you think about it, how you act on it, and how you persevere through challenges. Your financial life will always reflect the quality of your thoughts and the strength of your habits. Now is the time to take action. Start small, but start today. Commit to learning something new about money every day, set clear goals that excite you, and develop the discipline to follow through. Surround yourself with mentors, whether in books, conversations, or communities who inspire you to think bigger and reach higher. Most importantly, embrace failure as a valuable teacher and keep moving forward with resilience. Your future wealth begins in the decisions you make this moment. Choose responsibility over blame, patience over impulse, and clarity over confusion. Take control of your thinking, and your finances will follow. The road to wealth is a path of consistent, intentional step-stake. Your first step now